So, Alexis Sanchez, reportedly the interest of Manchester United, Manchester City and Chelsea. It looks like it's now just down to Manchester United, Danny. Before we come on to the intricacies of how that might work out, first of all, is he a player that will flourish at Manchester United?
Yeah, without question. I think it's interesting, Manchester United, their interest has become apparent over the last few days, and he's 29, but I think he's aged about 4 years, and all of a sudden he's too old and this, that, and what have you. But I think he'd be an outstanding player for Manchester United. You've seen him playing as a front man. You've seen him playing off the left. You know, his last season at Barcelona I think it was under Guardiola, he played on the right of a three, and I think he scored something like 19 goals and had 10 assists. So I look at a player like that, and it's not just what he brings on the pitch. You can see his mentality. You know, you've seen it.
He's a winner, He's a winner.
The frustration that he shows on the pitch at times, and you know that will help at Manchester United. And I think what players like him do, sometimes it takes the pressure off other players. So we've seen Lukaku. Lukaku's getting a little bit of a rough deal at the moment, but we saw the game last night. His movement to create space.
He was good. I was pleased for him last night.
To create space, you know better than anybody, right? He was going into unselfish positions to create space for runners. Now, all of a sudden, if Sanchez is doing that running, Lukaku can then stay where he wants to stay. So there's a knock-on effect. So, in my mind, I think it would be an unbelievable signing for United.
Yeah. As you said, he's a player who already has a relationship with Pep Guardiola. Do you see him as someone who's suited to being a Mourinho player?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see any reason why not. I think the one thing that you do see with Mourinho is that he's not just happy with players that want to run one way. They've got to be able to do both things. And we've seen with Sanchez
he does that
he can do.
Didn't he?
He can do it. He can do it both ways. We see now Lukaku does his shift. Martial, Rashford. That could probably be the question mark over Mkhitaryan, because he started the season unbelievably well, didn't he? He was absolutely phenomenal. But it's that work rate which cannot be questioned with Sanchez. And he's one of them. In my mind, he's the. All right, you go back over Manchester United over the years, he's a Manchester United player. He's that match winner. You know, I'm not comparing him to Eric Cantona, but he's one of them that can turn possibly a drab 0-0 into a 1-0. And Manchester United's problems over recent games, you know, they've had them 0-0s, they've had them games that they just can't get that winner, and he could be the difference maker.
You mentioned Henrik Mkhitaryan. His agent, Mino Raiola, has said that first of all, he said, I think it was him that mooted the idea that Mkhitaryan might be moving the other way to the Emirates. And today is saying this is very much Henrik's deal, not Alexis Sanchez's deal. He is a make-weight in this deal for Mkhitaryan from Manchester United to Arsenal. Look, whatever the truth of the matter is, does Mkhitaryan hold all the cards here? Yeah,
I think he does. Simply because if he says, OK, I'll move, then it will happen. But, like, if I was him, I don't know how I'd feel if I was him at the moment, because he's been in and out. Like you said, Dan, he started the season pretty well. It looked like it was starting to happen to him, but happened for him. But then Mourinho kind of went the other way with him, and he's digging him out. We're hearing publicly he's saying about he's not working hard enough, whatever it is. And now he's a player that seems to be lacking a massive amount of confidence. And now Man United need him to do them a favour. He could cause a lot of problems for the deal if this deal's going to happen. Whereas for me, if I'm Sanchez, I'm saying, well, why don't you just buy me anyway? Why does Mkhitaryan have to come? If you don't want Mkhitaryan there, that's your problem. Why does he have to be a make-weight in the shift? If I was Mkhitaryan, I'd say that myself. I said, I want to stay. I want to try and do something here at Man United. Then it's up to Mourinho to get him out. But I don't know. With Mkhitaryan going the other way, you know, he's not a player that Arsenal have been after. All of a sudden, he's a player that Arsenal have been handed. You know, it's the same. It's the same with, like, I'm hearing about Aubameyang.
Aubameyang.
Aubameyang. I keep getting his name. Aubameyang. You know, he's somebody that a couple of years ago he was like on everybody's radar. Now he's gone a bit cold on everyone, and then all of a sudden, he's on Arsenal's radar. That feels panicky for me. That feels panicky for me. You know, of course they're both quality players, and if you're losing someone like Sanchez, you need people who are going to hit the ground running. I'm not sure about Mkhitaryan's state of mind right now. Aubameyang, you know, he looks like he can nick a goal, but you're going to need to hit the ground running.
I think the interesting thing is when you look at Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan as well, Aubameyang can't play in the Europa League for Arsenal. And let's be honest.
Well, they can declare one player, can't they?
I think if because he's at Dortmund, and obviously Dortmund are in the Champions League, because they've now fallen into the Europa League, he can't play in that competition. And In a month or so, that's probably going to be Arsenal's biggest opportunity of getting into the Champions League. So you're going to spend all this money on Aubameyang, yet he can't actually play in considerably the most important competition for you to actually get you back where you want to be, which is the Champions League. Whereas Mkhitaryan, he can play. So, you know, there's something to look at. And let's not forget Lacazette. Everyone talks about... We hear so many players linked with different football clubs, but I think you have to take a step back and go, OK, you bring Aubameyang in, where does he fit in at Arsenal? Does that mean it's the end for Lacazette? Does that mean that Aubameyang or Lacazette is going to play out of position? Because you're talking about a huge signing in the summer, then you're talking about another huge signing in January. One of them's not going to be playing in the position that they want to play. I
tell you what as well might be worrying is like Ozil. You know, there was only talks a month ago, 2 months ago, like Man United want him. Man United could end up with Ozil and Sanchez.
In this window?
Oh, who knows? I don't think it's going to happen in this window, but I could see, you know what I mean? I could see there's a place for someone like Ozil at Man United as well. It's not something that you could say, well, that's not going to happen.
From like my point of view, very, very different, you know, not the top players at the clubs, the defender and things like that. I was speaking to Wright and asking the question, like, Arsenal have got to be looking at themselves and going, how can we allow our 2 best players to go on a free transfer? For example, right, when you were at the height of your game at Arsenal,
2 years at least.
2 years, exactly. There's no way you would let someone of Wright's ability, therefore with Ozil, you don't let them go that far. And if they turn around with 2 years left and go, I want to leave the football club, you sell them then. Absolutely,
and get the money. I think that comes down to the boss. I think that's Arsene Wenger's decision was to keep Alexis Sanchez, and I think it's one that's backfired on him because if Alexis Sanchez is going to stay to try and help Arsenal, to push Arsenal to that top 4 spot, which he hasn't kind of played with the intensity that he's going to do that. And now it looks like he's conceded the fact that I might as well let him go. And it's bad business.
I think,
it's bad business.
And I think the problem is if you look at Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and, all right, Tottenham have done it a few times recently, but you don't sell or allow a player to go to your domestic rivals. No. And, you know, the standout one for me was Robin van Persie, going from Arsenal and going to Manchester. They gave him the title. You can't do that. You're making yourself weaker whilst making a domestic rival stronger. We know Barcelona, we know Real Madrid, and there's very little you can do to stop the top players going there, but at least don't have them with domestic rivals.
Yeah, but Dan, could you imagine if Ozil and Sanchez, so we've not learned from Robin van Persie going to before, we're going to lose Ozil and Sanchez to Man United?
However, coming into Arsenal could be Mkhitaryan, reported to be interested in Aubameyang, as you say. Malcolm reported to be very interested in.
Potential.
And Theo Walcott looks set to join Everton.
Yeah.
What is Arsenal's transfer policy at the moment?
I don't know, because I think that everything that's happening is stuff that's being forced on them through other people's movements. Theo, you look like we spoke earlier on, Dan, you know, like we mentioned Iwobi and, you know, Iwobi's still playing after he was so-called out and all that sort of stuff. And if you're starting to not be able to make a team when a youngster's been out and insubordinate, whatever it is, Kels, then you've got to leave. And I think that Theo's had 12 years there, and, you know, some people will say, how much has he improved? You know, the talk is Arsene Wenger doesn't improve players. So you're looking at someone like, even that Malcolm, you know, you look at it, how much is he going to improve once he comes there? If that's the case, we've seen Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain leave. You know, we're seeing someone like Theo, and, you know, Theo is the same player that got there. He's just older. You know, he's you know what I mean? He's not learned a particular trade. He's just blasted on his pace. You know, he's somebody that years ago, you could have taught him the central striking role, the runs, the movement, the stuff. Or if you're going to have him on the right, teach him how do you come. Look at Sterling. Look how Sterling has changed in respects of having a coach that has taught him how to play that position. Look at him now. You know what I mean? And I don't think that Theo's had that schooling. Absolutely, Oxlade-Chamberlain. So, you know, I don't think that Theo's had that schooling, and now he's going to go to Everton. And I just hope that he can just have a few years in his career where he can play continuously and do some stuff for himself.
I think one of the things that you look at as well, you know, the potential signings for Arsenal. The one thing I'd say about Arsenal, I think they've got some outstanding players. Yeah. That's not the question with Arsenal. The question, in my mind, and the one doubt is too many players that are the same. So you look at...
in mentality, you mean?
No, ability.
OK.
They've all got fantastic ability. When they are playing to their absolute best, you know, they will give anybody a run for money in the Premier League, but there's not a Matic, there's not a Kante, there's not a Fernandinho-type player that can allow these players to go and express themselves. So we see that they are open, and I look at that Arsenal team. they'll score goals.
Yeah.
More often than not, they will score goals against anybody. They've got players that can create the assists. You've got players like Wilshere, who in my mind is one of the best ball players that England have. You've got players that can put the ball into the back of net. Okay, Lacazette, he's been a little bit hit and miss, but Ozil in his time there, assisting goals. Sanchez, Welbeck. But it's the other side. It's the other side of the game. So what happens is, these players that are being signed, in my mind, these players that are being signed by Arsenal to actually put the ball into the back of the net to create at least things, I still think there's a percentage of work that they're forced to do because Arsenal are missing that one player.
Right.
So at times they're doing this bit of work, but in the back of their mind they're like, well, if we lose the ball, then I've got to get straight back there. Whereas if you've got your Matic, your Kante, your Fernandinho,
you don't need to just go and play.
Go on, express yourself, go and get on with it.
Like what Liverpool are doing right now.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned with Shan.
They're playing with the two
They're playing and they're sitting now. And so they're not go and get on with it and just go and cause damage.
Yeah.
Shan, another player, though, who's coming to the end of his contract. Having said that the other teams don't do it.
Yeah, but they've got Naby Keita.
So
he's on his way. So
yeah, I would still do everything I could to keep hold of Chan, because Chan is a midfield player that can do the sitting role, he can do the box-to-box.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic player, and I think Liverpool should be doing everything they can to keep hold of him.
Bringing it back to Sanchez and his move, which looks as though it will be to Manchester United if it is to anywhere. The guys covered it last night on Monday Night Football in terms of it breaking down with Manchester City and the possible reasons for that. Antonio Conte was asked about him as a potential Chelsea player. Is there an argument that Chelsea could do with Alexis Sanchez more than any of the three clubs who were interested in?
I think they probably could do, because the one thing at this point last season, I think they conceded the same amount of goals, but they've scored a lot less this season. But there's been a change of system there, and if he continues to play that change of system, and Sanchez was to go there, then it's either Sanchez or Hazard if he's going to persist with Morata, or does he go with Sanchez and Hazard? But which I don't think he would do as your two frontmen, because he's playing a 3-5-1-1 now, whereas last season, imagine if he was playing that system now, he still had Diego Costa, and then you get Hazard and Sanchez behind him. It'd be incredible. So, yeah, they could probably do with him, but it's where you then go and fit him unless you're going to...
I think, Dan, if he was younger, a few years younger, and with Hazard and the Real Madrid rumours and stuff, you could see where they could probably bring him in, and I think he could do that Hazard role.
Yeah.
But I just think at 29, it just doesn't seem like the age that Chelsea would sign a player like that for. I just don't. I can't see how it would fit in there, and especially
although they are being linked with Andy Carroll.
Heavily
linked with Andy Carroll.
If that happens,
for £30 million.
Yeah, if that happens, I'll be very, very surprised. To be honest, I can't understand the link. In respect of how he's going to fit into Chelsea's side and how they play. I can't understand it right now. Maybe I'm not seeing something. I don't know, you might, Dan.
Obviously, we know he's a fantastic target man. Morata has been a little bit hit and miss. You know what Andy Carroll can bring to the game. We've seen Azpilicueta's link up with Morata as well, so only time will tell. But I think you made a really good point about Sanchez as well, because age-wise going to Chelsea, with him going to Manchester United, there's a lot of young players there.
Yeah.
There's the likes of Martial,
Rashford,
Lingard, Rashford, Lukaku still as well.
Yeah.
So, not only is he a player that's going to improve Manchester United's starting 11 or squad, I think the younger players would learn a lot from Sanchez as well.
How much is this, or how much can we reduce this to cold, hard cash and Alexis Sanchez earning potential at the three clubs who are reported to be interested in it?
Yeah, you could look at it like that, but then I suppose you could turn it on its head and go, well, Manchester City, if they reported to offer 60 million, I think, in the summer just gone, why would they not pay 30 for him now? Because, it's 30 million...
Could it be wage demands?
I don't think so. I don't think if they want someone like Sanchez, then I don't think it's going to fall down on wages. I get the feeling like, I was hearing Gary Neville saying that, maybe, I don't know, no, I think it might have been Jamie Carragher who said that maybe promises were made and maybe he's reneged on them. Maybe he's so desperate to get out of Arsenal, and, we're still talking about Manchester United. It's not like you're going to a lesser club. We're going to Manchester United, and, he's probably looked at it and thought, OK, yeah, that's still quite an attractive proposition for me. And maybe Pep's testing him, and he's failed the test in Pep's eyes. And Jesus is coming back a lot quicker than people. He might have thought, something, maybe I'll just concentrate on the defender now. Let him go to United.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well is like, for me personally as an individual, when I look at Sanchez, you give him the money that he wants. But the problem is, as we've seen, transfer fees going up all the time, wages going up all the time. Sanchez, if he goes to Manchester United, goes to Manchester City, all of a sudden he's getting this amount of money, then you know you're going to have the top players at that football club going, well, hang on a second, he's got that. So you've got to give me parity, you've got to put me up there as well. So, I don't know, I just find it a little bit strange that Manchester City prepared to pay 60 million in the summer and now they won't pay 30 for a player that...
Yeah, but maybe, Danny, he said that I want you to come in the summer for nothing. And then I'd rather give you 15 million or 20 million or something. I don't know. I get the impression that Pep's just said, I don't like the way you're moving right now. I don't like the way you're rolling, brother. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you know what? I'm not having it.
I'd like to hear Pep say that.
I'd love to hear him say that. I don't like it. But it feels like that to me, Kels, because I can't understand it. It seemed like that was the only destination for him, and now it looks like it's gone... You know what? It would not surprise me if that's not over yet.
Not over yet. Mkhitaryan could be on his way to Arsenal. Sanchez could be on his way to Manchester United. It's another long-running transfer saga. We'll keep an eye on that one.